What's your favorite scary movie?
Do you ever fantasize about
damn enchiladas?
That's much too vulgar display of power, Karen.
Let me ask you one question. Are you having fun?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Because I promise you, you and I are going to have some fun.
Oh, no.
It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Shut up, you bitch hog.
Game over.
Whenever I'm ready. It's a bit weird now, actually. Now we have done the little extra episode. How do we start? Like I know, like I just said, it's nice to take the beginning bit into a separate bit of content, but now we've taken it out. We have to just be like, hello, everybody out there in internet land. Welcome back to the Dreadcast. My name is Tom, and this is Aidan.
Hello.
Hello. There it is.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Welcome back to the Dreadcast. This is episode 80. 80.
80, wow.
What's the 80th anniversary present?
Chocolate.
Is that
Cake.
Oak. It's not bad. I like a bit of oak.
Yeah.
Oak. It's very
I mean, you get past all the juicy stuff though, don't you?
Oh, we're past diamond, blue, sapphire, and platinum.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're now back to wood.
And then back to wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unobtainium.
Yes, episode 80 of Dreadcast, and we, in my opinion, have got a fun one today because we haven't had a nice little discussion topic for a long time, and probably about a year.
No, we haven't.
About a year. Where we did what scares you in horror. And I remember that being a really fun one as well. Yeah,
nothing was the outcome.
Nothing. Do a horror podcast and not a thing scares any of us. I think
my own mortality.
Did we more so? Oh no! Oh, I'm completely wrong. We did an episode on horror cliches / tropes.
Oh yeah,
talking about like Crazy Ralph, and cat jump scares and whatnot. Yes.
Yeah.
So no, today back on the discussion train, and I think this was your idea.
I think it was. All the best ideas usually are.
All right. That's why he's part of the show. That's why he's here, hanging out his arse.
Yeah.
Yes. The one thing though, before we introduce this one, today's discussion is comedy in horror, not horror in comedy, right?
No.
That was going to be my first point.
Well,
because they are very different.
Horror in comedy, or comedy in horror. Well, I think we should talk about all of it, really.
Well, you talk about both, but they are very different.
Yeah. I think so.
And I believe you probably have a ratio of maybe 25% to 75% when you split it either way. So if you have a comedy in horror, you might have the 25% comedy in a horror film that's 75%. And if you flip it the other way, your percentages are the other way around.
Yeah. Well, I think there are three ways of doing this.
Okay.
Generally. So you've got comedy films with horror elements.
Yeah.
So a scary movie, I guess, to some extent.
Great example. I've got it here. Yep.
Shaun of the Dead, big one. It's probably, I'd say that's primarily a comedy film, but it's got horror elements. And then I think the other side of the coin, you've got horror films with comedic elements. So something like Evil Dead 2, where you've got it primarily, first and foremost, it's a horror film, but there's a good, bucket full of gags and jokes and silly little things that sort of lighten the tension, lighten the mood. And then the third thing you've got straight up spoofs. You've got straight up like parodies of
like,
horror films.
Well, the scary
so I
movie
suppose
films
scary
are parodies.
movie, scary movie probably fits more into that category.
I think the third one would be more satirical, like a Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
See, for me, that'd fall into that comedy horror category. So it's a comedy film first and foremost, but the comedy is coming from horror elements because it is basically just like making fun of the tropes of slasher films and things, isn't it? Great, it's a great movie actually.
It's fantastic movie. The two examples you gave are very interesting though. Shaun of the Dead and Evil Dead 2, but being in the separate categories that we just mentioned. But they both have their premise, their plots are horror based. One is a zombie outbreak. One is oh god, how would you even describe Evil Dead 2? Simply a demonic
a demonic outbreak.
A demonic outbreak. Yeah, what perfect, yeah. But both come along with comedy elements. But you're saying one is in either camp.
Yeah, because I think Evil Dead 2 is trying to. I think the main aim of Evil Dead 2 is to try and scare you.
Yeah.
Whereas the main aim of Shaun of the Dead is to make you laugh.
Yes. Okay, I get that. Yeah.
So
I get that.
Evil Dead 2 is a horror film, but there are some jokes in there. Shaun of the Dead is a comedy film, but there's some horror stuff in there.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah.
That's the distinction. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I think if you look at, something described as a comedy horror or a horror comedy, I think that's where the distinction is. I think that's what you've got there. What the main purpose of the film is to either scare you or make you laugh, and that's dictates whether the horror comes first or the comedy comes first.
Yeah, no, I get that. And Scary Movie, your first example, the parody subgenre, they are comedy films. They are intended to be comedy films, but using horror films as their canvas to make jokes on. Yeah, and that's another separate distinction, is because it's taking an existing horror film and putting a comedic twist on it. So, or several in the Scary Movie series. Obviously, they don't just parody one film, do they? They tend to, particularly in the later sequels, it's a whole bunch of gags from various different movies all jammed together. So, I guess by our little mind discussion there, we can now call this episode, because I didn't have a title for this episode properly yet. Maybe we'll discuss comedy and horror and horror and comedy. Then we can do the both. There we go. Okay, good. I can note that down. I can work on that after. What are some of your favourite horror comedies? Or comedy horrors? Or comedy horrors. Again, I'm not gonna lean too heavily on those distinctions. I mean, Shaun of the Dead. Yes, Shaun of the Dead is got to be a big one for I imagine a lot of people. Yeah, just without doubt. 20th anniversary. Yep. Recently, is it? Yep. So that was good. Scary Movie. I like the first couple of Scary Movies. The sequels sort of after the second one. We talked about that last episode, I think. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. They lost me a little bit. And Tucker and Dale. Okay. And from years ago, and I've not seen it in such a long time. It's a little bit of a cheat bringing this one up, but Repossessed. Yes. I would like to see that again because it's a long time since I've seen that. But the Exorcist parody with Leslie Nielsen and Linda Blair and Linda Blair. Yeah, who serves pea soup. Yeah, that's a good shout. I think personally for me, I actually when I was doing my list, I just kept remembering more and more. I I can't not forget Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Which falls into the category, in my opinion, of it's a horror film with comedy elements.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Dead Alive / Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's blood-soaked, in crazy film. You've got House.
Yeah,
love the House. Deadstream, which came out 2 years ago. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I've seen this.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's about the streamer that goes into the supposedly haunted house. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I love that movie.
Great fun. And I was kind of surprised because I think I poo-pooed it to begin with.
Yeah, I was definitely ready to hate it and was hugely pleasantly surprised by that. And it's genuinely quite scary as parts as well.
Yes, it is. And the main actor, who I think plays a comedy role quite well, is him and the female lead who plays the main female demon in it. They're both in a VHS segment that came out that year, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Where he plays, I don't know what he plays, but him and another guy sneak into this. It's like a ritual, and then they get transferred to hell, and they're trying to escape hell, and she is a demon in hell trying to lure them back to their reality. It's great. So Deadstream, yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, that's a great show.
And the other one I noticed down was the Feast trilogy. Now, I brought up Feast to you before. Feast 1 especially is fantastic. Feast 2 and 3 are very much your late night Sci-Fi Channel movies. But they are... Feast 1, I don't think it's intended to be a comedy, but the writing gives a bit more of a comedy and aspects to it. But it's not goofy and it's fun.
It's not described as such.
It's a gory monster film, a monster you don't see until the end.
Yeah,
but it's fun. That's all. That's the way to describe it. It's a fun film which includes comedy aspects. So yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah,
of
but are they deliberate though? Is it? That's the thing.
Well, that's another. Get on to that. So, there's so many pathways to go with this. That's another thing. Another little topic I wrote down with this is like it is this. I guess you call it a subgenre. It's a subgenre of horror. Horror being the genre. It's very. I mean, horror itself is so subjective and opinionated. What you find, like we talked about, what you find scary, what you don't.
Yeah. But
you could find a scary movie funny rather than someone who's trying to feel immersed in its world, feeling the tension and terror. Like, I've personally experienced watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre with someone and them laughing when Leatherface turns up with the hammer and the pig noises in the background. Going, whack. Because to this person, clearly, he looked goofy and silly and pig noise made them laugh. Whereas to me, the beginning of the film has immersed me so much in the film, I'm kind of there with them, feeling the tension, feeling this is weird. This is getting weird now. And this, in theory, monster has appeared. But to this person has made them laugh. So to them, there's the comedy. But it's not. It's not intended to be a comedy any way at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I can see that as well. It's like the Beetlejuice quote, isn't it? The Beetlejuice line. I've seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time.
And Exorcist, I think, is another great example. I think we may have even talked about that in our Exorcist review, which you can click somewhere here on the screen. That I think if you show it to a much younger modern audience, tell them to put their phone down, would they take Reagan seriously? Would they just be laughing at Reagan?
Yeah.
The lines that come out of her mouth and...
I mean, maybe not. Maybe. I mean, you know, some of those lines are quite shocking. That laughter is probably the knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? Rather than necessarily just being shocked, like hearing little kids swearing is always funny. So hearing a young girl like uttering some of the filth that she does is probably going to get a few smirks and sniggers, isn't it? Yeah, that's not something I'd really considered, but yeah, obviously there are films that are, they're so bad they're good camp and things like that, where they are supposed to be horrors, they are supposed to be scary, but the writing or the acting, whatever it is about it is so,
I mean, have you ever
cheap
had that experience? Like, I went to the cinema to see Midsummer. I didn't personally enjoy Midsummer, but I was going along with it. And there's a shot in Midsummer where a young gentleman is being forced to have relations with a young woman, or an old woman. Guys behind me, dude bros, were pissing themselves laughing. Whereas I'm trying to be in the film. I'm trying to just be isolated in the film, and I don't know what I'm watching, but at the same time, it's a good reaction. That's what the film wants me to. The film doesn't want me to be laughing at this.
No, I did have a giggle at Midsummer, with the hammer, with the big hammer.
Oh, the like a ritual on the cliffside.
Yeah.
Oh, that got you, did it? That got you.
That made me laugh. Just because it just in my mind it's just this like Harley Quinn-esque, comically big mallet.
It was a bit clown-esque, yeah.
Yeah. So that definitely made me laugh. And Hereditary as well.
Not when the girl's head goes.
No.
Oh, it was hilarious.
That was funny, but no. No, it's towards the end where the random naked guy just shows up in the corner of the living room and he's got like a big grin on his face.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. I mean, I don't remember much of them. I didn't. Those films, they don't do much for me. I'm not saying they're bad films; they just do much for me. I don't remember that bit.
Oh, I liked Hereditary a lot. The guy, he kind of looks like, is it Nick Nolte?
Nick Nolte, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I don't know if I'm getting confused if it's Nick Nolte or no, Gary Busey.
You can't forget Gary Busey.
It kind of looks like Gary Busey does, this guy. And yeah, I mean, I've not seen Hereditary for a long time, so I can't exactly pinpoint when it is. But it's towards the end when like the cult members are starting to arrive and shit's definitely hit the fan. And yeah, there's like a naked Gary Busey lookalike just in the corner of the room, and he has this like sinister grin on his face, and it was just so shocking, so unexpected that my knee-jerk reaction was to just wet myself laughing because it was so unexpected. I'm trying to find a screenshot of it.
Speaking of Gary Busey, can we watch this one day?
Absolutely, we can.
Quigley, he turns into a dog.
Gary Busey turns into a dog.
Well, he doesn't actually turn into. He becomes a dog.
It's reincarnated as a dog.
I just remember you said Gary Busey. That popped into my head.
Oh, I found it.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm listening.
Right, so I'm gonna send you this image.
Okay. Copy link and paste. Oh my word, that is Gary Busey. I don't remember this gentleman whatsoever.
It's just
tattoo on his chest.
It's just a very short section of the film where he's just randomly there with the old Todgerite.
Yeah, that's new. That's new to me.
And it's okay. Gary Busey's wang in this otherwise
serious film,
creepy, serious, unsettling film about what is Hereditary about? A possession. That's kind of about a possession, isn't it?
Cult-esque, yeah,
culty, witchy stuff.
But neither of them are comedy films or have or intended to have comedy aspects in them.
But a naked Gary Busey will always make me laugh. If you put that in your film, it's going to make me giggle.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Have you ever experienced that? Then you're watching a horror film with someone that not
naked Gary Busey walks in.
Have you ever experienced a naked Gary Busey? If so,
If
contact
so.
this number.
Is it Gary Busey that's in the Ginger Dead Man?
Oh no! Why are we on a Gary Busey rabbit hole?
Because there's a whole series of films called about an evil gingerbread man called the Ginger Dead Man.
Yes, it is Gary Busey.
Gary Busey is in it, and I've been wanting to watch them for a while. And there's also a crossover with the Evil Bong.
Oh my god!
Series of movies.
Man's got to pay his bills, okay?
Look, the second one's called Ginger Dead Man 2: Passion of the Crust, which is a pun I'm living for.
Oh boy!
Just so you wait till the Raven Sire's coffin comes into play. I'm going to find a way to get the Ginger Dead Man in there. I promise.
On that, I'm going to bring that up after the break.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute.
So
yeah, have you for the third time? Have you ever experienced watching what's intended to be a serious horror film? Like really serious to the point of it could be very bleak or whatever, with someone or an audience that have taken it in a different way, the more so comedic way at some points of the film. Like I said with Midsummer, or watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre with someone who found the Leatherface debut funny when it's not intended to be. I must have. I think I do recall watching The Wicker Man with an old girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend of mine, and her it's not quite. She found it funny as such. It's not quite the same thing, but she couldn't really see the horror. Yep.
So I think she found some of the songs and stuff in there kind of silly, and I think the naked Britt Ekland banging around on the walls and stuff was kind of funny to her. So that there's probably other examples I could think of, but
mindset comes down to, you say you couldn't see the horror. I think that comes down to people that are more visual and rely on cheap jump scares to get their horror kicks. Like, and even then, a cheap jump scare could make someone go, "Oh!" and then they'll laugh. Yeah. I do sometimes get that, but that's maybe what people find scary the most. They just like the jump scares. Whereas you're looking at The Wicker Man, you got maybe look a bit deeper. Yeah, try and see the horror that is really going on here, rather than it being told to your face, "I am the killer. I am going to kill you." That's what's scary. Like, I mean, we said cheap jump scares don't really do much for us personally, unless they're intended, unless they have a good reason for them. But cheap jump scares, I mean, like they can make people laugh. Mm-hmm. Oh, good, you got me.
Yeah, well, I think laughter, it's an easy way to lift tension, isn't it? And it's
big time,
and I think when you've got, jokes in horror films, it's a way of managing the tension for your audience.
What so
you'll be building like a fake jump scare, like a phony jump scare. It's a cat that jumps out or whatever. Yeah. You've got that tension ramping with the characters on screen and the audience watching. You think, oh, something's gonna happen, and then like, meow, it's just a cat. And usually the character's like, "Oh, Mr. Tiddles, it's just you," and the audience, you'll be laughing as well because it's like, "Oh, phew," it's not as horrible as it was, and then you get the actual horror, the real sting in there, and it's comedies. I think deliberately used in a lot of cases to sort of create those peaks and troughs of tension and manage how your audience is reacting to things.
I mean, yeah, you're completely right. It can be used as a breather in your horror film. And I think one of the best examples I saw for that was Tremors. Because Tremors is an interesting one. It's an incredible film.
Yep.
And it's not, I don't think it's that high of a rating. Age rating. Because there's a lot of I think the deaths are either off camera or they're not gratuitous or violent or gory.
No.
But graboids. It's a big monster, big scary monster that comes out. Gross looking thing.
I'm just trying to find what is the age rating.
I would say is it a PG or 12?
It's a 15.
15. Okay.
Google. Yeah.
But it's the comedy in that is really used as a breather. I think it's used really well, and the comedy isn't too. It's not slapsticky. It's more like one-liners or character development. It's used really well.
See, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the main Google page now for Tremors, and it describes it as horror comedy. So it's putting that comedy first, that horror first. But I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think Tremors for me,
comedy horror.
Yeah, I think Tremors for me feels more like a comedy film that's about something horrific rather than a horror film that's funny. But like I say, I'm not going to live or die by these distinctions. I don't think it's ultimately like a deal breaker or hugely important. I just think it's kind of interesting that you can make those distinctions. Whether it matters all that much is, neither here nor there for me really. But yeah, I think I always think of Tremors as being more of a comedy film than it is a horror film.
Yeah. No, I see your point. I get another film that's probably on the opposite scale, where you've got more of a dry comedy sprinkled through to give a bit of breather, being American Psycho. The scene alone, which has been memed to death, the business card scene alone is incredible, and it's funny. And I don't even know if it's really intended to be funny, but it comes across really funny because they're just talking about business cards, and they all look the same. They've just got different paper qualities, different embossed writing, and the final cut of Bateman just sweating and being so frustrated. It's hilarious.
Oh, American Psycho is a great movie.
It's hilarious, but we're also looking at this guy who gets his kicks out of killing people. It's just, it's a great little breather, but it's not. Oh, hey, jokes are plenty. Comedy. It's a very different type of comedy, given as a breathing space.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking about just how good American Psycho is now. I want to watch it again. I've not seen that for a while.
The way he kills Jared Leto is to Huey Lewis in the News. It's quite funny.
And then you get the throwback later on when Willem Dafoe turns up as the detective, and he opens his briefcase and pulls out the new Huey Lewis album. He's like, I've just picked this up. And it's like, you're a detective investigating a murder.
I just carry around my Huey Lewis.
Who cares that you've just nipped a HMV on you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and as if you've interviewed this guy because you think he's a suspect.
Yeah.
But let me just take a moment to share with you. Do you like Huey Lewis?
Columbo, you're about to say something.
I can't remember what it was.
You had one more thing to say.
Just one more thing. My wife, she loves you.
We reference Columbo far too much on this podcast.
Because I love Columbo. Can we sack off the horror and just do a Columbo podcast?
We'll add it to the list of all our other podcasts we need to start.
He's brilliant, though, isn't he?
I never watched him. I've seen many clips. I've seen many bits. I know of Columbo. I know the bit. I've never sat down to watch an episode of Columbo.
It's great, Columbo, because you find out who killed it, who's the killer, like right at the beginning. It shows you.
So you're just waiting on him to find out.
And then you work out, and then the fun is watching him working it out. It's great. We had a long running quiz team called Columbo's Squinty Eye. That was
you care to explain that one?
Yeah, he's got a bit of a squint, hasn't he, Columbo? My wife, she loves you.
That's the one line you always.
I know. And it's probably only mentioned like once, if at all. It's a total Mandela effect thing, but it's one of those. Just one more thing. I actually love you.
If you can't remember what you were going to say, then the thing I was going to bring up were early on horror comedies or comedies and horror, however you want to define it.
Yeah.
I watched Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein the other day.
Oh, did you?
And
you
it's superb. It is fantastic, and I would highly recommend watching
Brilliant.
it. And it's quite funny at times. I didn't think I would find a film that is nearly 80 years old.
Yeah, Abbott and Costello. I'm right in thinking they're like a Laurel and Hardy kind of double act, right?
Yeah, double comedy double act.
Yeah, that's their sort of shtick. A little bit of like slapsticky messing about and yeah.
But it's the second time we get Bela Lugosi as Dracula as well.
Mm-hmm.
We get Lou Costello, Lon Chaney Jr. We don't get the Baron, unfortunately. We get Vincent Price voiceover.
I mean, that's the
it's a good
horror
film.
elite right there, isn't it? For the time.
Yeah, and I would. I mean, we talked. I think when we did our Monsters of Universal series, we did briefly mention Abbott and Costello every now and then. And now I'm really intrigued to watch more because I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it. But that's it's the earliest iteration of a horror comedy / comedy and horror I can personally think of on the big screen. I'm not well versed in and have the knowledge of, let's say, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, 60s, of that sort of subgenre.
I think it's probably a fair assumption that it's got to be one of the earliest sort of examples, and certainly like famous, and well known. And I'm just having a look through now. They did Frankenstein. They meet the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Well, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. There's a basically got Dracula versus the Wolfman versus the monster. And you know what the plot is to this film?
No.
Dracula is basically trying to get a brain for his own Frankenstein's monster from the Wolfman.
Of course.
I think it's the Wolfman. I think it was the Wolfman, yeah.
They got their own little black market going on.
Yeah. It's
There's
mad.
another Abbott and Costello called Hold That Ghost that keeps cropping up. I don't know if that seems to actually be about a ghost. So they've always been doing the old horror thing. I was gonna I can't say I don't know if there are any other earlier examples. Certainly not. I know they did. Did Laurel and Hardy also do some monster stuff?
Good shout. Didn't actually check that out, actually. Good shout.
Because like I say, Abbott and Costello are definitely the famous one.
Yeah.
The famous ones. But I'm just wondering, was there a Laurel and Hardy? I've got a vague recollection of watching if they did like a similar Meet the Monster type of thing.
Not too familiar with their work.
I vaguely remember watching like an old, well, they're all old, but like one of their movies once before. They did. I think they have a ghost or haunted house type of film.
Right.
Again, same sort of generally like genuinely funny stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, really, because I was going to talk about. I was going to sort of think, sort of musing on comedy and horror and things like that, and it being a good gateway for people.
Oh, without doubt.
I was thinking, like some of the things like movies like I guess Beetlejuice and Gremlins and Critters is another one.
That's part of the little sort of monster era of the 80s. Gremlins, Critters, and Ghoulies.
Yeah, Ghoulies.
Yeah.
But again, they are like high on the comedy.
Yeah.
Thing, black, described as black comedies or family horrors, I guess, or something like that. And the kind of film that you watched as kids, because there's enough of a horror element, or the horror element is minor, and therefore kids can watch it and they can be entertained and it's funny. But you've got obvious. I mean, Gremlins is a family movie, but it's really dark. Like,
yeah, that falls in, I think, to another great discussion point of it's a family movie, really dark, but there's other films that have those same sort of aspects and tropes, aspects and vibes to them. That do you class them as a comedy, horror comedy, or horrors in general? Like, for instance, Ghostbusters, Hocus Pocus, The Addams Family. Are they straight up horrors, or are they more comedy family films that have horror aspects sprinkled amongst them?
I think the latter. I think Ghostbusters is a comedy film about people that catch ghosts.
Yes.
So that's your horror element. They catch ghosts and ghosts are in it.
Hocus Pocus, we have the witches.
Yeah, but it's... Yeah, but it's. I think the comedy is definitely the forefront in all of those.
Primary, yeah, it's definitely the primary, yeah.
But they have enough horror in them to to sort of bridge that gap and be exactly what we're talking about here, sort of horror comedies or comedy horrors.
Different age ranges.
Yeah, appeal to different age ranges, and I mean, like me, you probably grew up watching those Ghostbusters. I'm watching Ghostbusters as a kid all the time.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I went to see Ghostbusters 2 as a kid.
Yeah.
And was too scared by it and had to leave the film early.
Oh, it's a pure horror film, that one.
Yeah. It was the bathtub scene. I don't know why, but it was just far too much for little old me when I first saw that. Watched it after the fact, no problem. But
that grouping of films are more, like you said, with Gremlins, family, I guess. Family, or not orientated, but intended for more of a family audience rather than a Shaun of the Dead or Evil Dead 2 are funny, but not intended for that younger audience.
No, definitely not. Definitely not for numerous reasons. It's adult language and
adult themes.
Certainly, yeah, and certainly more sort of heavier on the horror side of things. There's more gore and dismemberment and
much more.
Yeah.
Yes. The only other one I added to that list I was going to say was Little Shop of Horrors, which the thing is with that is I think you see the horror more in that the older you get, because it's such a bleak ending.
Yeah.
It's a really bleak ending.
We're talking about the 86
Rick Moranis
one here.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Such a bleak ending where the plants win.
The plant wins, yeah.
With some incredible miniatures, incredible
Miriam
sets.
Margolyes is in that.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Didn't know. I didn't realise.
But that's
recently.
A musical comedy horror.
Yeah.
Has another aspect to it.
I mean, yeah, musical. It is actually, Little Shop of Horrors. Google is listed on Google as a musical horror. How many musical horrors are there?
Oh, that's for our next year's discussion. Musical horrors.
I mean,
I feel like there's plenty.
Arguably, The Wicker Man.
There's
a lot of singing in that. That is a musical as much as it is a horror film. I might watch that this afternoon.
Of course you're going to. Are you currently just Googling, and this is okay, are you currently just Googling musical horrors?
Yeah.
Right. When I started doing prep work for this episode, of course, I just to get the ball rolling, I Googled horror comedy films, or horror comedies, right? Have you seen how bad the list is that comes up first? When you Google this, right, it splits it into categories. Okay, you got are you seeing what I'm seeing? Top comedy horror picks, popular right? Okay,
yeah.
Let's just look at top comedy horror picks, right, to begin with.
So what is the actual Google search you've done?
Horror comedies.
Yeah, okay. That's
all right.
Just to make sure I've got the same keywords in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Top comedy horror picks. We start with Baghead. I haven't seen that came out this year. I don't know if it's meant to be. Scary Movie. Who Invited Them? Ready or Not? Okay. Click the arrow that goes to the next.
Yep.
The sadness.
How's found?
The sadness.
The sadness hasn't come up for me.
Oh, okay. Well, the sadness is there on mine. The sadness is not a film I would ever class.
Oh no, it is there. Sorry, it's just after Deadstream. Yeah.
Funny vibe.
There's nothing funny about that. Cobweb. There's nothing.
Cobweb. What the?
That's not a horror. That's not a horror. That's not a comedy film. There's nothing funny about Cobweb.
These lists are absurd. Then if you go down, where was it? Oh, there was one of these. I can't remember where it was now.
American Psycho appears on the popular list.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Interesting.
I can't remember which list it was, but some of these lists, I don't know how they get created. It must just be an algorithm of some sort. But I don't know how these films slip into these lists when you are doing such a simple Google search.
I find that when you're looking on the streaming services and things.
Oh,
like
they
Netflix is terrible for it.
Yeah.
Netflix puts like the same film in like every category.
Yeah, completely. The one I did see on here, which kind of led to another topic of what we're discussing, was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a comedy film, but the way it's made is to be a portrayal of those sort of late 90s, early 2000s slashers, which
it's
I
feel a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, to us gives us the campy vibes, which then elicits laughter here and there, because those films were a bit campy, especially maybe not Scream 1 so much. Scream 1 had Stu, who was a very campy character, and his lines were portrayed were delivered quite funny at times. But Scream 1 is a serious horror film for the most part. But there were other slashers like Urban Legend, or even I Know What You Did Last Summer, a little bit campy and hokey. Valentine, like they tried to be serious, but they came across to us, I guess, a bit more hokey and campy and a bit funny at times when they weren't meant to be. And I think that's obviously what he was going for with Thanksgiving.
That's interesting though, because that suggests that knowledge of horror films, having more knowledge of the tropes and things like that, can make things appear funnier.
Yeah, completely. And he utilizes that perfectly in Thanksgiving, I think, which is what he was going for. Just
out of interest, while we're on this,
what
I just want to do a little comparison. What is on your For You section?
For me, so that just to clarify, we go top comedy horror film picks, popular comedy horrors, and then it's For You.
And then it's For You, yeah.
Okay, the first one is Thanksgiving.
Okay. I've got Dog Soldiers.
What?
I don't know why.
Yeah, I like what I like to do is I like to double bill watching Naked Gun and then Dog Soldiers to get my real good double bill comedy films going. You know,
honestly, this list is wild,
absolutely baffling. Okay, so Willy's Wonderland, Horns, Lost Boys, The Tribe, which is a straight to video on demand sequel, Cocaine Bear, Psycho Goreman, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Sleepy Hollow, One Cut of the Dead, Hood of Horror.
All right.
Megan.
I have not.
Megan.
I have none of those. Although shout out to Psycho Goreman, that's brilliant.
Yes, that is
good. That is a great movie.
The Lighthouse.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I've still yet to watch that, but
that's not comedy.
There's nothing about that that says comedy at all. I mean, these are
ridiculous.
Right, I'm going to read you out some of mine. I've had to This is just like the first, however many it is.
Yeah, okay.
8. So Dog Soldiers.
Yeah.
Fright Night. Paranorman. Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
Inside Number 9.
Okay.
Constantine.
Gotcha.
Hellboy.
I'm listening. Hellboy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hellboy?
I don't know. I've got to... Honestly, there's a bunch of stuff I've not heard. Oh, What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes, What We Do in the Shadows is superb.
I've had to scroll on like quite far to get to some that I'd agree more with. Bad Taste. Premise 4, yes. Randomly.
The thing with these lists, the main point of this, I said, I sometimes do this just to get the brain going. It's not to really read and take on board what this algorithm is saying. Just to get the brain going. And it really didn't help at much at all, because I just look at this list for 2 seconds and I can't take any of it seriously. Yeah. And this is definitely a problem, like you said, with Netflix and the streaming services, and this, where people, what do we watch? What should we watch? Let's see what horror we got. Oh, let's try this. And it's the list is completely messed up. All these algorithms are completely messed up. Top comedy horror pick films: The Collector. Oh yeah.
I mean, mine has a few more Leprechauns on there.
Now, Leprechauns, another. I did want to bring up Leprechaun at some point. Yeah.
Skinamarink. Again, not watched it, but nothing about that.
Don't watch it. Don't ever watch it.
Commented it to me. Howl. There's also one there. Werewolf movie about the broken down train. Not comedy in any way. Yeah, there's a lot in this that I don't. It's just nonsense, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. It is. It is absolute nonsense. Leprechaun you mentioned.
Oh, Late Night with the Devil is on that list. Top comedy horror film picks. Late Night with the Devil is the last one.
What?
I mean,
I don't. What?
There's a couple of gags in there because it's supposed to be a late night TV show, but it's not. Oh,
like his opening monologue sort of gags. Yeah.
But it's not like it's not played for laughs as such, is it? It's not. I wouldn't say that film has any comedy elements in it. No. Like deliberate, in the same way that Shaun of the Dead has obvious jokes and things. It's
there's a zombie apocalypse out here. What should we do? Let's just go to the pub and wait for it to all blow over. That's actually quite a funny line. None of that in Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you say, there's a couple of gags in his like opening monologue because that's the style of the show.
Yeah.
But that's as far as the comedy goes there.
These algorithms are horrific. They are horror. These
comedy
algorithms.
Horror B films. This is a list.
Now that's a completely different world because they're made on the cheap. They get straight to streaming services, and all you got to do is do a play on a title, like a Zombiever or something, and there you go. You've got a cheap horror B movie.
The Ginger Dead Man.
The Ginger Dead Man. As we're back to that again. Yes.
It's on the list. It's on the list. Bad Taste, Ginger Dead Man, Eight-Legged Freaks, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Evil Dead, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and then your baby Planet Terror is on there as well.
Planet Terror is an interesting one because it's kind of it's kind of got that Thanksgiving style to it because
it's the style of, isn't it? It's the style of a B. It's not technically a B movie. It's the style of a B movie.
Yeah. So it's intended to have. It's not made badly. It's intended to have hokey aspects to it.
Yeah.
But Leprechaun is one of those films, I think, where the added comedy to it helps it. I think we may have talked about that in the episode.
Yeah.
If you take that away, I don't think the film would be as widely
remembered
and revered.
I don't want to say good. Don't want to say yeah.
And it's exactly we talked exactly about this, about like his little cars, the way he moves, the little jokes. If you remove all of that, it really wouldn't be remembered as it is.
Yeah.
So adding comedy aspects to a horror film can sometimes enhance it.
And again, it's fun. Leprechaun is a funny one because that's another one where I'm not sure where to put that. Like I can't decide whether the jokes are in there to be funny or whether they're genuinely trying to make Warwick Davis as a leprechaun scary.
They're really trying to be serious.
I think it's trying. Yeah, I mean, well, again, if we want to go by that definition and which way around would you put the horror and the comedy, Leprechaun, according to Google, is described as a horror comedy, not a comedy horror. And I do think that is desperately trying to be scarier than it is.
Now we're so we did horror comedies in Google, okay?
Do you want to see
comedy horror?
Comedy horror. See if it comes up with a different list.
It's basically the same.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be. Like I say, I don't think anybody should live or die by.
Or I wonder if we go to something like Shudder, right? That is a specific horror streaming service. So I wonder what they might class.
Go to comedy horror. Well, I've googled Shudder comedy horror.
Yeah.
And it's given me Chucky, the Chucky series, all TV series, I think. Oh no, Critters. Oh yeah, that's the TV. They made a Critters TV series. That's in one season. Critters: A New Binge, 2019.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. The
Okay.
Chucky TV series, Stand Against Evil. Comedy horror tends to lend itself to TV series better than straight horror does, I think. I think you tend to get more comedy horror shows as series than straight up horror.
For the most part, I'm on Shudder now, and you can select. I don't know if you were on it or just on the Google search, but on Shudder you can select genre actually in Shudder.
Oh, okay.
And when you click comedy, most of these, American Werewolf, Willy's Wonderland, Stitches, What We Do in the Shadows, Deadstream, House,
Black Friday.
they're all here. Wreck Free, I didn't like Wreck Free, but I don't really know if I would put that in there.
No.
But yeah, for the most part, this is pretty on point.
Yeah, I'd say so.
This is really good, actually.
Dead Snow's in there. Slacks about the killer trousers.
Oh, we need to put killer clothes in the coffin.
Killer clothing. Psycho Gorman.
Are they women's slacks?
Yes, it's a possessed pair of jeans terrorizes the staff of a trendy vapid clothing boutique.
They should be women's slacks.
It's been on my watch list forever. I've never actually taken the plunge to watch it.
One film they haven't got, which I actually watched last night for the first time, that's been on my list for a long time, was Night of the Creeps. That is a fantastic 80s film. I loved it with Tom Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend it. But that doesn't come across as a straight up comedy. It comes across as I keep using the word hokey horror, but it comes across as a hokey horror with comedy aspects in it, which work really well. They're very subtle. It's not a comedy joke here and there. Night of the Creeps is really good fun, but it's not there. I had to find it through other means, which you can find it through other means if you're able to. Yes. But yeah, Shudder seems to have it really pretty locked down on their comedy side. Netflix doesn't.
No.
Netflix does not.
Good. Although I've come into the actual Shudder webpage, there seems to be a lot more than there is when you're trying to search through Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Through the Shudder channel there. So I don't know what that's about.
I also had the point of you're sprinkling your comedy through a horror film. Example A. Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Okay, my favourite one. Yes.
My joint favourite one with Part 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd still edge Part 4. Part 6, it's still a horror film, okay?
Yeah.
And they get sillier, they get, but not in a comedy style. They just get, like, the kills get sillier. Jason isn't now a monster. But Part 6, where we have the camp kids actually at the camp, which rarely happens in these films. There are 2 kids, and I think it happens twice, where the kids are hiding under the bed, and one of the kids says to his friend, "So, what did you want to be when you grew up?" And that's clearly played for laughs.
Yeah.
Because the kid is like, he's kind of accepted his mortality there, but it's played for laughs where there's a serial killer monster walking around. There's another line, I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's before this, but yeah, just sprinkled here and there. There's not many other comedy lines in that film.
Not a line as such, but a moment in that film comes with the paintballers.
Yes, you're entirely right. Yes,
yeah, the paintballers. So the guy, and it's how Jason gets the machete, because the guy gets killed in the paintball game, and he's hacking away at some bushes and like ranting about how I didn't get, I shouldn't have been killed or whatever. And then as he sort of comes to bring his arm down, he can't because Jason's got hold of him. And then he swings him and whips him into a tree. And as he sort of, his body slumps down the tree, there's a little smiley face imprinted into the wood.
There is.
Blood stained.
Yeah.
So you get that as a little gag. And then it cuts back to Jason, who looks at the machete and then looks down to see that the arm's still attached. So there's like another little chuckle there, and it's the way because he looks down and I think he sort of cocks his head to the side to like acknowledge it, and it's there's another little gag there. And I think 6 is generally considered as being the one where the comedy aspects started coming into it a little bit more easily. Yeah. And like you say, they are deliberate. Yeah.
I mean, 6 is easily it could be a starting point for someone.
Mm-hmm. You
could do 1 to 4, because really 1 to 4 is an arc in a way. Mm-hmm. 5 is its own. Alexa, shut up. 5 is its own entity, and then 6 onwards is a new arc.
Yeah.
Is the silly arc? I don't know how to say it. The only other example I kind of had for that would be From Dusk Till Dawn. But From Dusk Till Dawn is a film where you get one of the ultimate curveballs, where if you go into that blind, this is a bank robbery heist. Film.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a crazy vampire film. But the comedy is sprinkled in. The band. There's a quick cut of when the band turn into vampires and they're playing Limbs.
Yeah,
it's quite funny because it just comes out of nowhere. Like Sex Machine.
Tom, I was going to say Tom Savini's character. I couldn't remember what he was called, but yeah, Sex Machine with his.
I can't take that seriously.
Codpiece gun.
Yeah, they're meant to be taking this film seriously about these 2 criminals that are so violent and horrible, and only care about themselves and money. But we come to this bar and there's a guy called Sex Machine with a cannon on his Johnson. I'm not going to take that seriously. I'm going to laugh at that. But I guess it is intended to be a little ha-ha here, a little joke here. But it's not a joke. It's a funny. I don't know. It's not even a funny character. It's not intended to be funny. It's a quirky. It's a quirk.
Yeah, quirky. And I suppose this is going to sound ridiculous because it's From Dusk Till Dawn, which is about vampires, and there's a character called Sex Machine and stuff. But it's
Sex Machine.
It's kind, and it's set in a bar called the Titty
Twister. We got the big pussy. We got pussy.
Yeah. Hot pussy, cold pussy. Like, right. I've just got to say it. I'm just going to say it. but it brings a little bit of realism. And
Explain yourself, sir. Yeah. Explain yourself.
I know. But what I mean by this is there are just weird characters in life, in the world, and quirky, odd behaviour is a thing that happens. And even in, not necessarily Dusk Till Dawn, but a serial killer movie, not a specific movie, but, in a horrible, trapped in the woods with a murderous cannibal scenario, something stupid could just happen.
Yeah.
Because life is like that, and silly little things do just occur that are funny, despite the fact that you might be being chased by an axe-wielding maniac. It doesn't mean that that is funny. And people, like I say, people use humour to lighten the tension, and gallows humour and dark, it's a recognised, like, psychological thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm pretty sure there are plenty of studies out there about how people find humor in dark times to help them cope and things like that. And yeah, like I say, Sex Machine in Dusk Till Dawn is a very ridiculous situation, but
even when he turns into the rat and he's just feeling his tooth, it's very comical.
It's just I think, it's kind of representative of those things in life that are just funny, regardless of what else is happening. Things, there are just quirky little odd things and people in life that will make you laugh. So,
mentioning about the Friday the 13th series becoming maybe a little bit more comical here and there as it goes on, I think one of the main horror mainstay franchises that does it intentionally is Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy.
Yeah, I'm glad you said I was gonna bring this up.
I think Freddy,
we have to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street if you're talking about this thing. Goes very, like, deliberately down a comedy route. The Child's Play franchise did as well. They definitely had. I mean, it's sort of swung back more to the horror side of things in later entries, but Chucky
also, they started serious and then went down. Yeah, whereas like Leprechaun started, like we said.
Yeah,
I guess comedy,
silly, and remains. Well, if anything, gets sillier. But the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and the Child's Play series, they definitely have evolved into comedy things. And I mean, everybody knows, like, about the later episodes of Nightmare and Freddy's one-liners, and things like that. But I feel like he still had that angle to him in the earlier films. I think it just comes.
Doesn't come across as comedic as much.
No, I think it just comes to the forefront by a little bit more. But this is still a little bit quippy, I think.
I mean,
maybe
the first one,
not as overtly comedy quips, but that sort of, like, I suppose, for want of a better, like, kind of menacing one-liners, action hero-y sort of threats that are a little bit pithy, a little bit, quotable, but certainly not like the pun-heavy primetime bitch. From later installments.
When in the first one, for instance, I believe it's Tina he's chasing down the alleyway. He's got the elongated arms, and that comes across quite funny.
That's very silly, yeah.
But that scene and setting doesn't end funny with Tina's death in her bedroom.
No. So
in for the most part, he is still being a serious psychopathic.
Oh yeah,
monster.
I think so. Like, I think the long silly arms are a good example of something that's unintentionally.
Very unintentionally funny, yeah.
It's unintentionally funny, but again, I suppose, like, going back to what I just said about things. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Funny things are going to be funny, and I think if I was presented with somebody with ridiculously like Mr. Tickle arms, like running. Well, he's not even running at first, is he? He's walking.
Yeah,
he's just walking. Like I think I think I'd laugh.
Probably would. Yeah.
I think my first thought would be, what is that ridiculous man doing?
I guess though I have one more point to bring to the table. Was you mentioned earlier about films that could be so bad they're funny.
Yeah.
And we've talked about one before, which was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4: The Next Generation.
Yes.
I don't think it wasn't intentionally made to be a horror comedy or comedy horror, but it's the performances, the writing, the script, the story, where it goes, the portrayal of Leather, everything about it is a cocktail of just nonsense that's quite funny and just at times entertaining to watch, but still not the greatest film. Another one. Have you ever seen Faust?
No, I haven't.
Faust is Faust is a 2000 is a new metal film, I will say.
Oh, okay.
Faust is one of my favourite quotes from the internet. Wake up, bitches! It's time for Faust.
I recognise the.
A lady in that film collapses into a tit puddle.
Okay.
So Faust is so bad it's funny, but I think it's got Jeffrey Combs as well.
It does have Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
It also has Andrew Divoff.
Faust is a wild film. If I'm right in remembering, the lead female in that is basically rape saves the day in Faust.
So it's like a Wishmastery type thing, is it?
Kind of, but kind of not, but also kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you'll like it.
Faust Impact. Oh, the story. Right, okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Go on.
I'm on the IMDb page for it, and the storyline. It's got the little storyline blurb, and then underneath it, it has keywords. The keywords are incest, father-daughter incest,
yes,
breasts growing,
yes,
female ejaculation,
yes,
and female rear nudity. And there are 148 more tags that. I'll be damned if I'm not going to click on.
You should watch Faust.
I think I might watch Faust.
I think you should watch Faust because it's great. Have you found the tit puddle?
Based on a comic book.
Yeah,
apparently.
before Spawn.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Reference to Adolf Hitler. Reference to Princess Diana. Reference to.
Sorry, are you new to Faust right now?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh my word!
I've seen the poster before for it, but I've never. Yeah, no, I know nothing about it,
sir.
Well, that's what I'm doing this afternoon. Then
there we go. You need to watch Faust.
Watching Faust, apparently.
But any other, would you say, bad films that come that transcend the horror, become like more of a comedy because they're bad?
Bad films that, I mean.
That don't fall into becoming a B movie category like The Ginger Dead Man.
I mean, trauma films.
Yeah, I think that's a great
shout. Anything by Trauma. Troll, the Troll movies, Troll 1, Troll 2, they're very much in that vein.
The thing with Troll 2 though, they did a like an anniversary screening a while back where the director turned up to it somewhere in America, maybe LA, and all the fans were cheering and laughing and hollering for the director's wrong reasons. He didn't know. He wasn't aware, and it really threw him at the end of the screening.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Oh, bless him.
Poor thing.
Bless him. I mean, yeah, it's Jason X.
I don't know. What do you reckon? Jason X was made to be serious, though. I feel like Jason X was made to be serious.
I suppose not.
Made to be serious. They're unintentionally funny, but they're.
Well, I don't know.
I think that's up to opinion. I think that's an opinionated
Yeah.
question, really. That could be a lot of things. A lot of different movies. And I mean, there's this whole category. We could go into depth. We could talk about the parody, or we could talk about the subgenres, like we mentioned earlier. There were different, like the parodies, the satirical ones, the like zombie comedies. Like there's so many subgenres.
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
comedies.
there are a lot. Yeah, particularly zombies. Zombie films
I
seems
think
to
that's
be one.
Easy one to do.
Yeah, they do a lot of.
You can make anything into a zombie. It's just a reanimated corpse of any living thing in humanity. It doesn't have to be humans. It can be anything. Yeah. Do you have any more points to bring?
I don't think so, really. I think
we covered quite a lot.
I mean, I've a lot of time for comedy, horrors, and horror in comedy. There's hits and misses like there is in any other genre or subgenre, but the marriage between horror and comedy and like scares and,
it's
and
perfect.
laughs it works really 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 well. Obviously that's why we can, and I think as we look to find humor in things that make us uncomfortable. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well is that it's a natural thing for us to try and find the levity and the lightheartedness in sort of dire situations, darkness. Yeah.
I just remembered one more from our previous episode on The Thing, where it's a super serious horror film, but there's a tiny breathing room in the operating theatre where the head falls off and becomes the spider.
Oh yeah,
and walks off, and I can't remember the character. It might be, I think, Windows maybe. He just turns around and says, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!"
Exactly,
I always laugh. I find that's funny.
Which is funny, and it's a very human, normal response. Because that's exactly.
You're like, oh fucking hell.
You'd be like, oh my, really?
On now.
Like, yeah. What next?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a similar moment in Shaun of the Dead where it's like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me! Like, really?
Yeah.
It's just one more thing, just one more thing to deal with. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good comedy horrors out there, both intentional ones and unintentional ones.
Yeah.
Like I say, there's some TV series.
Which
we didn't really touch upon all that much, but I think that does comedy horror really well. There's some good series out there. Todd and the Book of Evil was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
By a metalhead kid. Jason Mewes is in it. Plays the school
janitor.
janitor.
Okay, cool.
Stan vs. Evil, the Chucky series has been good. Yeah. Comedy horror. Horror comedy. Whichever way you want to chop it up.
It could be another. We could have a part 2 on this. I feel like in the future we could easily dive back into this and maybe go into TV shows and other aspects of horror comedy.
It's a big subgenre. Yeah, it is.
But I think you hit the nail on the head at the beginning by saying it's a fantastic pathway into horror. And obviously this was discussed in a very earlier on episode of the Dreadcast where we talked about how to get into horror, which we will do again because I want all your opinions on this, because this will be you right there, Aidan, not you in internet land, no, not you guys. Want your opinions on that, so it'd be good to really do that again. And like we said, horror comedy is a perfect gateway into horror. Yeah, great fun. I miss these discussion topics; they're great fun. We'll try and get a few more regular ones. Yeah. If you have any horror topics you'd like us to discuss, do send them on into
thedreadcastpodcast@gmail.com.
Just blowing the dust off the The mailbox.
Off the mailbag. Or, you know, you can always hit us up on social media, on the Twitters.
Yep.
Or the Instagram. Leave comments on the YouTube. I don't know why I'm putting that in front of everything. On the YouTubes.
The YouTubes.
Leave us a comment on the YouTubes. Yeah, if you've got any shout outs for some comedy horror picks, or, you know, discussion topics you want us to do in future, or you just want to tell us how great you think we are, that'd be lovely.
That'd be lovely. Right, one final note.
Oh, what's he got? He's reaching up to his box of tricks.
Next week we have 2 films to talk about. 2 films that have been picked by picking topics from our Raven-sized coffin. It's not the official title. We are working on the official title. If you follow the Dreadcast TikTok and Instagram, you'll find a new post where I've advertised this coffin and all its fun things inside. We are looking for a title for this new series on Dreadcast. We've finished Monsters Universal. We have a brand new series. We've had some input. We have had one that is far too highbrow for us from I like to say friend of the show, Creature Pod, from Chunky Larry, called this is far too intellectual and highbrow for us. Exhumed exploitation.
Oh, I like it, but yeah, that's
way too good for.
Clever.
I'm sorry, that's way too. But yes, we're looking for a title for this. We may have got it by the time this comes out. If we haven't, well, I don't know. Raven-sized coffin, episode 1. But what happens, Aidan? What happens with this coffin?
We pull out categories that are written on slips of paper contained therein. Yes. So we draw a couple of those categories, and the objective is to find a movie each that fits those categories. So what does that one say? A bad pun in the title. The Ginger Dead Man. Yes.
Now,
got
thankfully,
it in there again.
That was a example, Paul.
That's a practice one. Yeah.
That was a practice one.
So we have drawn. Like I say, we have got the first film. So the picks for the first films were Nightmare in the title and less than 80 minutes.
Yes, which has now been removed from the coffin for future use.
Yes, which was a horrible. Surprisingly, in genre movies, horror movies, there aren't that many with Nightmare in the title.
No, there aren't.
Nowhere near as many as I thought there would be, and certainly not when you've got the extra criteria of a runtime of less than 80 minutes. And the big caveat with this is not to go for mainstream.
No.
You know, big movies. So Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was off the table. It's
You're
not
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
sort of.
we think about those. You know, page 137 of Amazon Prime when you're scrolling through. You know, the bottom of the bargain bin in
your lesser heard horror films.
In £1 DVD in CEX. That's the sort of level that we're going for.
What have we picked?
You have Nightmare Sisters?
I have Nightmare Sisters, which is a horror comedy featuring Linnea Quigley, and I'm very excited. It is 83 minutes, but we'll just watch 80 minutes of it.
Well, I mean, it's probably
it's fine.
It's fine. Of credits, isn't there?
Yeah. What have you picked?
And my pick, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh my word!
It's got Nightmare in the title. I'll tell you that much.
Better have.
I'm scrolling back through our messages because I know that
just click search find.
It's Nightmare Radio, isn't it?
Nightmare Radio.
Nightmare Radio.
Which Nightmare Radio, the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker. That's the one. Yeah.
Are you sure that's an hour and 34 minutes, sir?
Not according to. Not according to Amazon.
Oh, okay, yeah, on IMDb it's 1 hour and 19. All right, we'll look that up. As of now, though, it's Nightmare Radio, Night Stalker, and Nightmare Sisters going head to head. And we're going to watch both. We'll discuss both on the next episode, and we'll see which one comes out the winner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will.
Looking forward to that. Going to be good fun. And we will obviously, I will have to. I realised that this morning. It's May this week. We need to work out what's going to happen in May.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll work that off camera,
well,
and you'll see a new schedule pop up on the Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the social medias, which was the _Dreadcast, and find all past content on Spotify, Apple, Google, Samsung, Alexa TuneIn, Podbean, and YouTube, or by searching the Dreadcast.
Nice.
There we have it.
There we have it. All right, folks. Thanks very much for listening.
If you're still here, check out our quick Dreadcast extra review of The Late Night with the Devil, and let us know what you think. But yes, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, wherever you are.
Till next time, peace out.
Bye-bye.